This is a Club 11 production.
So this guy comes out and makes a pretty quick diagnosis of what's going on. I feel like he got under there. He's like, yeah, he invited me to join him under there while we were inspecting stuff. And we go under there, we're looking. He's like, oh, there it is right there. Points at something that I was like, what do you point? I have no clue what you're pointing at. He's like, blown head gasket. I don't know much at the time about bus, but but I know blown head gasket ain't a good thing to hear. And basically, you know, when we're like, yeah, so what do we do? He's like, how much did you buy this bus for? And then he's like, yeah, just get a new one at this point. Like, you would just get a new one. And I was like, well, what if, like, this bus has, like, this sentimental value to us and it's starting to gain traction, like, with the American soccer kind of fan base, and, like, it's kind of important that we have this bus. Like, just get a new one. Like, do not do this. And then we're like, okay, yeah, that's, like, the worst news possible, I think. And then we're like, well, how does this, like, you know, blown head gasket thing work? And he's like, you know, like, it's just gonna stay here and you're gonna get rid of it and you're gonna go home and get a new bus. Like,
yeah, it was like there was no like alternative. He was like, so we're like, oh, so like, what can we maybe sell it?
Hold on tight and take the ride. This is Club 11's Soccer Odyssey.
And we're back.
To set the scene, we are currently, the bus is out of oil, sitting in a Nashville funeral home parking lot. We don't know what to do. So, who found is it you or is it you? Who found the diesel mechanic?
Gabe. I think Gabe found
Just the Google.
Yeah. We were just
Just what is open at that point on a Sunday?
Yeah, it was like a Sunday.
Everything, he gave me pretty, like, easy like, it's just like, oh, diesel, this is the bus, whatever. Like, I think 5 of them just didn't pick up, and then the one that picked up was the guy that I just sent to him. But
Yeah.
We had to wait, like 4 hours?
I think, about like 4 hours. So that was when we decided, hey, like, let's just set up the bus.
Well, what we decided, actually, since the bus is falling apart, we were having a mini crash out of what are we going to do.
It's great.
We discovered a wise way to keep up the health of the bus by kicking a ball at it over and over and over again. And that was the birth of bus ball.
Bus ball. That was awesome.
we were just bored.
Yeah.
We just needed
Honestly,
something to kick.
yeah, like bored and also like probably stressed as hell.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
just
that
trying to
it was,
get getting your mind off of it, of just like, what are we about to do? We just started this, and it's been going pretty well. Like, it's been increasingly getting better, and now we might have to stop
we
it.
had all these big plans for St.
Yeah.
Louis, you know, the whole that part of the trip, and then it's like,
It was also like, we didn't know if we'd make it anywhere.
Yeah.
I think we were kind of scared that, like, the engine's fucked.
yeah, and then like, what do we do? Like, how do we get home? Like, what do we do with that bus? But at that point, it was just like, you know what? Like, we don't know anything until the mechanic gets here. Like, he's gonna tell us what happens, essentially. So it's like, let's just kill time and play bus ball.
Play bus ball, which is, as you might expect, wall ball on the side of the bus.
Yeah.
And we also put up a story being like, hey, if you're in Nashville, so are we, and we are not going anywhere. If you want to see the bus, come to this location. Not expecting anybody to show up. But honest to God, thankfully, we met one of our favorite reoccurring characters of the season, in Weiler.
Weiler Harmon.
Yeah. How did he? So we put up the story of like where we were. Like, okay, we're setting up the bus. I guess we had done our little first private showing to Ryan on the way up to Nashville.
Yeah.
So we had some experience there. So we were like, you know what? Let's just set it up and see what happens. The night before, literally.
So also, it takes a while to, like, set the bus
It takes
up.
about an hour.
Yeah, like, it's not this thing. We don't travel with the bus set up.
So
Yeah.
we're like, if this is the last dance, then, you know, whoever comes here in Nashville, like, great. But what did Weiler say when they?
I mean, I could open the message, but, like, I think in just like from what I remember, we put that story up, and he just responded like, "How long, kind of, are you gonna be here?" And I think at the time we were like, "Well,
Indefinitely.
it might fucking die here." And so he's like, oh, "Okay, cool. Like I could probably be there. I think in like a couple hours." Like he lived close by, and like he showed up. Like he came out, and I think it was pretty easy to tell, like, oh, that's Weiler, because we were in an empty parking lot and he just showed up, and it's like this guy and
That is true.
Weiler and his girlfriend walking over, and yeah, I mean, it was awesome, like having them there. It turned out, we learned then that he, and you guys can talk a little bit more about this. I don't remember like exactly, but like his role at Nashville.
He works. He works
yeah.
for Nashville SC. I mean, I forget what his. I think his dad coached.
I think he's like,
I was explaining, like, his dad coached back home, and like, point being, he's a gigantic soccer fan, also a very big music fan, and so when he had the opportunity to like work for Nashville SC, it was just being in Nashville, I think, was a like great marriage of what he wanted to do. But because Nashville is Nashville and they're based in Nashville and do they are Music City. Nashville does a lot of cool stuff involving music around game day, and so Weiler works as a part of like activating and booking musicians for things that happen around game day for the club, which is awesome.
Yeah, he's like the entertainment coordinator.
Yeah.
So he does like, I think he was telling us like, on any given game day, like they have like 7 different artists or something like that, like bands, solo artists, like in multiple places around the stadium that just play music, and he's kind of in charge of like booking them and all of that, which again, like you mentioned, it's like kind of like the perfect marriage for like
Only in Nashville.
both of his passions, essentially only in Nashville. And like he also like when it came to the riff, like I think his first year he was kind of like also in charge of like figuring out like who is the artist that like does that at the beginning of every game. So it was like cool to like hear his like the backstory on all of that,
Which is funny because we had reached out to Nashville kind of loosely at the beginning of the tour around this time of like, hey, we should do something like with the bus around the Open Cup, but something with their scheduling where they weren't going to have a home game for a bit. So we're like, well, we'll see you when you.
Or I think we were even planning like, in between Open Cup stops on the weekend,
Yeah.
we can maybe, and just it was too hard to figure out.
We were like in talks with them still, because they've always been like awesome to work.
Yeah,
with.
they've been
Like,
great.
even
Ever
then,
since we reached out, they've been great. But
Yeah.
it was just funny that like we didn't know that Weiler
was
worked.
Yeah.
He just happened to show up, and so we talked for forever because he gave us so many interesting stories about just his knowledge, his very, very deep knowledge of the game.
he came with gifts.
Like he gifted us this like guitar inside a little, it's like a toy guitar basically, but like a Nashville guitar in a nice little casing, and like at the time I'm pretty sure we can all say it was like one of the coolest things like we had in the bus. So like for a second I think we all forgot like what the situation around everything was, but like we had this little guitar, and like later on we'll learn what happened to the poor guitar.
What the?
But
No,
Will.
we're not supposed.
Oh my god!
We have to cut that. We weren't supposed to talk about me breaking it.
No, but I mean, just like Weiler on it, like at that time, it was awesome.
And I think
Like,
even like to the effect, like takeaways, things we learned, like we did not, again, at this point in the trip, the worst day of our lives essentially, and we didn't know if we could we were going to keep going, and we weren't doing anything like revolving around Nashville SC or like, so we were just dead stopped in a funeral home parking lot, and we learned that Nashville does all this awesome stuff that seems very particularly Nashville around their club, which was like, you can do that. Like going back to all of the lore around the NASL days and the crazy wacky stuff they would do. It's like obviously not the same level that this stuff is, but it's like, a team is at least cares enough about where they are and what the culture of their city already is to do interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was nice that like also like we had also like in between certain Open Cup rounds, like we had all like individually gone to cover like different USL teams and all of that, and obviously like getting to see like how like these teams have like such a try to like really connect with like the things that make their cities special. And it was cool to see that it was like, like Nashville, they're in MLS, but it's like there is still like that intent to try to connect with what makes their city like unique and kind of special and all that. But
then the big moment happens.
We can shelve any other Nashville talk for
Yeah.
when we
for later.
For later.
But eventually our knight in shining armor, or our knight in some kind of armor, showed up.
Guy was about like 20 years old. Big old boy. Mechanic.
Shop talk.
Yeah, let's get back into shop talk. Yeah. So this guy comes out and makes a pretty quick diagnosis of what's going on. I feel like he got under there. He's like, yeah, he invited me to join him under there while we were inspecting stuff. He's like, yeah, just been working for 10 hours today. I'm, getting pretty tired. Just like prefaced everything with that. And we're like, okay, this is interesting. Yeah, okay. He's working really hard today. And we go under there, we're looking. He's like, oh, there it is right there. Points at something that I was like, what are you pointing? I have no clue what you're pointing at. He's like, blown head gasket. I was like, I don't know much at the time about bus, but but I know blown head gasket ain't a good thing to hear. And basically, when we're like, yeah, so what do we do? He's like, how much did you buy this bus for? And then he's like, yeah, just get a new one at this point. Like, you would just get a new one. And I was like, well, what if like this bus has like this sentimental value to us and it's starting to gain traction like with the American soccer kind of fan base, and like it's kind of important that we have this bus. Like, just get a new one. Like, do not do this. And then we're like, okay, yeah, that's like the worst news possible, I think. And then we're like, well, how does this like, blown head gasket thing work? And he's like, like, it's just going to stay here and you're going to get rid of it and you're going to go home and get a new bus. Like,
yeah, it was like there was no alternative. He was like, so we're like, oh, so like what can we maybe sell it?
Yeah.
Sell it.
There was no other option except for sell it. And we were like, okay, well, here's $500 or whatever for your 30 minutes of inspecting this thing. But then he also did open up the gas or the oil and was like, oh yeah, you guys are out of oil again. So, and then he filled it up with oil, and we had that AutoZone right there, and we filled it up with oil.
The Rotella.
The Rotella. He told us get the Shell Rotella right down there, and we've been getting that ever since. Yeah. But after that, we made the call, just calling around and breaking the news to everyone of like, hey, yeah, it's over. This guy told us to sell the bus. And luckily, I was talking to my mom about it, and she was on it and started calling around all of her diesel mechanic friends that she knows, and one of them happened to be my uncle, whose property we're on right now and where the bus resides when it's resting. And he was like, oh, well, I mean, if there's not white smoke coming out of the exhaust, like, this is not a head gasket. That guy just wanted to go home. And we're like, okay, well, maybe there's a chance. And he's like, and there's a little glimmer of hope. And he's like, you know what? Like, it might not be the best thing, but if you just fill this thing up with oil and you just keep filling, because it's just leaking oil. That's the problem. You just got to keep filling it up with oil and get it back home to Orlando, and then we'll fix it there. So then the idea and the dream was back on. All we had to do was go back down to that AutoZone and buy 5 more quarts of oil and just keep filling her up as she goes.
But in between that moment, between when we got the diagnosis from that 20-year-old mechanic, that was
there was some time in between where we're genuinely like, I mean, I shed a few tears of like, this is over.
There are some clips that I don't know if we'll ever share, but there are some clips.
Did you ever like text anybody of like, this is happening and like, we're like done?
No, I mean, not that at that point. Because like I think my parents or my sister could see my location still, and they were like, "The fuck are you still doing in the funeral home parking lot?" And I was like, "Well, we're not too sure what's going on with the bus, but I left it because I was like, I don't know, like, what good is it gonna do to like scare anybody at this moment?
Yeah.
Other than like we're the ones who are gonna be scared the most.
Meanwhile, Kiros was ready to board his flight to
Oh my god,
to Louisville. He's like, the fuck is going on?
We were supposed to meet him the next day.
True.
We were the next day.
Yeah. And we were just like, this is over, actually. Like,
hey, maybe don't board that flight. Like, we might not.
We might not make it.
I think, that was a crazy point and like a crazy feeling of like, oh my God, it's over.
I remember like sitting in there and being like, I cannot, like, it's like thinking back to like, okay, like when we first got the bus, working on the magazine, like doing this whole thing, and then it's just like sitting there with like all of you guys, and then I was just like, I was like, is this actually like the end? like, because it cannot be. But like, it's like maybe there's like nothing that we can do, and that like feeling of being like powerless was just like, because after like when we were talking about like doing the bus, like doing the magazine, what you were saying of like there was always like that belief of like it's gonna get done, and then it was just like almost like we're just stuck here, and like no matter like what we try to do, like how much we want it, like we're not gonna get there.
There's no backup. There's no other money. There's no backup. Like there's no money to get a new bus. Like this is the bus.
Yeah, that's the important thing to note. It was like there is no other bus. We can't afford to do that. We can barely afford to keep going at this point on doing this trip. Like the whole idea was when we first started on the tour is like we got 3 stops. And somebody with some money is going to love this and want to sponsor it.
Somebody.
And we weren't close to finding anyone to pay any money for it.
Yeah, we had 3 rounds of budget for travel.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's not, just for covering things.
And I mean, after the first round, that all got divvied up into another 10 rounds to make it possible or whatever it was. Another 10 locations, 10 stops. And yeah, it was like, okay, well, we have to rethink. I mean, it's another slap in the face of reality, and I feel like the hardest slap of them all because it was done. At that point, it wasn't a matter of the bus doesn't look inviting. It was like the bus is over. It's not going anywhere.
It was a fun 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Literally 3 weeks.
Yeah, like this was a fun little idea, but like come back down to reality. Like, you know what? This was never going to work anyway. And I think something that always happens is whenever that happens, we're like, it was fun, but like, let's get rid of it. And then somebody dares to tell us that there is a way to fix it.
Yeah.
Like my uncle did, and he said, you know what, you just fill it up with oil and you go have your fun in Louisville and Indy, and then you have to drive it back down to Florida. You're not going to St. Louis. Like, we can't because we need to fix it before we go back out. Like, it's going to be, if you want this thing to keep going, like, you can't just let this continue on.
So we did. We filled it with oil. It changed our plans of we're not going to go to St. Louis, but we'll just do these last 2 stops.
Yeah.
And we'll live it up.
We'll reevaluate after that.
How was it like from like when it came to actually like filling up the oil, like as going along?
What, like how much I had to fill up? Or
Like how fast was it? Like,
going out? It's not fast. It takes a long time for it to go out, but we're also driving like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles a day.
Yeah.
So it's like it will like add up, but like maybe I'm looking back on it because now I know like how much it needs, like in terms of like how far we're going. But like I would check it every time we stop. I would check and see how much we had and like and like give it a little bit more along the way, and it ended up not being like the beeping stopped. That beeping had stopped for the trip, but we make it to Louisville and we go to our first we do something with their youth team.
Yeah, I think Louisville was the first back-to-back in one place with one person, like activation, so to speak. Because we'd spent more than one day in Asheville, but Asheville was just like one evening of activation. Whereas what was awesome about Louisville, because they were also super, super great to work with, was they were like, hey, we have this like super robust academy facility and academy system. Do you guys want to do anything with that? And we're like, I mean, can we park the bus? Like, if it works, could we bring the bus the day before a game? And even in that point, like, because we wanted to do Louisville and Indianapolis, if Louisville was on the second day, we couldn't really do that because we beat Indianapolis. But luckily, it worked out that the Louisville game was first, and so we were able to park literally in the middle of this big turf complex, which is their academy. It's also their like club offices, right?
Yeah. It's like their whole like headquarters essentially.
Yeah. And because of course things can never be easy. A couple days before us getting to Louisville, it flooded. Like it was that we were like being followed by apocalyptic conditions. It seemed like wherever we went. It's like they flooded, and eventually we got there. But they were telling us stories of having to row to
boat into the into their practice.
Boat into the training ground. Yeah.
They said that it almost didn't, like we almost didn't do the training thing because I mean they had to go into, I don't know what they were doing with boating, but yeah, like it was so bad that the day before, we usually didn't get a hotel until the day before, just because stuff like Nashville happens, and we weren't sure, when we should start our reservation. But it turned out like the only hotel that was available, like in the whole, I mean, I don't want to say like the whole city, but the whole outskirts of the city where you can park an RV-sized vehicle, was like a block away from the training facility, because it just so happened that part of the city was the one that cleared out sooner, like fastest. And yeah, when we drove in, it's like you're driving over like I don't know what, sediment or whatever.
Oh yeah, all the roads were like brown because all the mud was just everywhere,
and it was all like closed down. You still see some water, but yeah, it was crazy.
But the setup at the facilities were awesome, because we were literally in the middle of 4 different fields.
All their fields. Yeah.
And this is where arguably a legend is born, because we're off the back of just purchasing and testing out the viability of the foosball table.
Yep.
Little did we know it would change the course of one of our lives.
Me.
Little old me.
Little old me.
Because I think it was cool. We had never had, like, in that capacity, that many kids interact with us before.
Yeah, because I think it was like it was like a nice little combination of like how we had done the not another film lab, that it was just kind of just like the bus is there and there isn't that necessarily the rush of like a game day. I mean, they had to go to practice, but they loved the bus so much that they were just like running around the whole thing, getting late to practice. But it was like funny that it was just like we put the foosball table out and then like wrote on the board like, because we usually like at every stop we print like a poster of where we are. So we had, I guess, I don't know how many we printed, but we were like, oh yeah, like if you beat Pablo at foosball, you get a free poster.
Yeah, we had up on the whiteboard outside.
On the whiteboard.
Yeah.
So it was like, initially it was like, there's like 1 or 2 kids that like come up and play, and then like, they start like making noise, and like, you score on them and they're like, ah. And then like more like kids like start coming, like, they're a little bit like curious. And it was cool because it was like, we had like up until now always like had the maybe like the issue of like, like how do we get people to come around the bus and kind of like, don't be afraid to like, check it out, right? And then we had like the foosball table, and then at some point there's like a whole like line of like kids that are like stepping up to like play me for some reason.
Yeah.
But it was that was a lot of fun.
And parents are dragging their kids away to go home, and they're like, "No, I gotta play Pablo."
After parents are also being drafted to play on teams against you.
Yeah, to beat him because he won't let children win.
He saw it like, obviously he saw it from the first person, but like Justin and I were in the bus for a majority of the day, with the like the kids that would go in there and you're showing them around, and like I remember hearing like this whole thing starting outside, and I saw like one kid playing against him first, and then like probably like half an hour passed, and I peek like outside, and there's this like you couldn't see him because there's so many like people around him, like adults, kids, and they're like all kind of like engulfing this table where he is just like, for some reason he's like good at this now.
He's Marty Supreme.
Literally Marty Supreme.
And I mean, it was hilarious, like seeing how many kids honestly were borderline about to miss their practice just because they were trying to beat, Pablo.
Yeah, we were disrupting the whole flow of a youth
literally
soccer
disrupting
organization.
everything. I think it's a good example of Louisville, though, about like even having us there and like us causing the disruption that we did to trainings. They're very focused on having some sort of holistic system, especially seeing it at a USL Championships. I was very like, whoa, you're allowed to do this in this kind of very clean capacity, where it was like, no, you can literally start playing with Louisville at age 5 or 6, and there is a very real path for you to train at the same fields, or train in the fields, be coached by players, and then be a player yourself at some point.
Yeah.
And the stadium's like 5 minutes down the road, and the stadium is awesome.
I mean, the facilities were like just absolutely like top notch, and even though they had, I guess, like flooded the week before, it just looked absolutely like perfect.
And even as we were leaving, after we got our tour of the facilities and we got to play some sort of competition Nerf basketball hoop game in with the recreational director of Louisville, which was awesome.
Yeah.
As we were packing up the bus, on the same fields where kids were training a couple hours ago, there was like adult league games happening, and all the people playing in the adult leagues were like the people who we were going to see tomorrow, who were part of the supporters groups.
Yeah,
Where it was like,
great.
this is awesome.
Yeah. I think we didn't run into Road Dog, right? But we ran into his wife.
His wife.
I think.
I think he was there though
And
too.
that-
Yeah.
Because I had been like messaging him ahead of time, and then like we were just like, I guess, going into the facilities, and then he's coming out, and then we ran into them, and then it was like, oh, like, I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
They
but
were like, we heard there was a Pablo around schooling children at foosball. Are you the same Pablo
Are
that's
you
been
the same
messaging
Pablo?
us?
But it was nice. Like, I guess, like, yeah, to your point that it's like, even they, like, even though it was like a youth like facility, and it's like, you see kids from like 6-7 years old up to like the academy level, and a few people were telling us like, yeah, like those few academy players, like they've rotated into the first squad a few games and all that. And then it's like, then on top of that, like you have the supporters or just anybody in the community having the opportunity to play in like an adult league and all that. It's like, damn, they have like a fantastic system at the end of the day. So
Yeah, like
Cool.
at least top of my head, right, though, Widener brothers have both moved from there.
True.
One to Europe, one somewhere else, I believe, but like playing professionally, and their parents are like they were at the game the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very much a family, community-based
yeah,
activity. And I mean, I think a family kind of atmosphere that we enjoy very much, because we met this Louisville family again the next day at
in a different context.
in a different context at about approximately 2 p.m.
Approximately 2 p.m. Yeah, damn.
Well, there was before we go into that too, also when we were leaving the youth soccer place, just as Gabe was, to finish off on Gabe's point of the bus having a bunch of oil residue on his windshield, the back of the bus was just covered in oil residue and looked absolutely disgusting. And so that morning before we went to the game, we took it to a car wash and literally like couldn't fit the bus into the car wash. So we just cleaned the front of it and then the back of it. And then the guy was trying to like help us out. I told him the whole oil situation, and he was trying to give me some stuff and gave me his phone number. So I just wanted to give him a little shout out.
His phone number might still be pinned up on the...
Yeah, his phone number's still pinned in the bus in case anyone ever needs a Louisville car wash guy that's very accommodating and is willing to hook up a hose to help you clean a bus. Then, just hit him up.
We have your man.
Yeah. But yeah, where were we?
Very welcoming city in general.
Very,
I would say.
very welcoming.
Very
Yeah.
welcoming.
Yeah, and then what? I guess the next day. I mean, it's like funny because like as cool as like because it was so fun to be there at the youth event and all of that, but like still in the back of my mind, it's always like that thing that you're like, oh man, but like, then we'll take the bus back to Orlando and it's all gonna be over. So it was more of like, oh man, like let's just like enjoy, I guess, like these next few days. And then speaking of enjoying, like I guess the next day it was like 2 p.m. and like drove the bus into the gravel,
The gold lot.
which is like, it's like right, like it's like you park and then like it like overlooks the stadium like really beautifully
Right there. And like I think
Yeah.
we keep saying 2 p.m. because we thought, we'd be the first ones there.
and we were not.
And we were not.
We were not. But it was like, I forget like how many people there were there, but like, we end up parking on one side of the lot, and then in the distance we see like there's like some commotion going on over there.
Commotion.
And it was more of like I was texting a Road Dog, to
Who is he?
Any context to who that might be?
he's one of the most fervent Lou City supporters. Like he's traveled like I don't know to how many like away games, but
Hence Road Dog.
Road Dog. And he goes there like with his wife to like almost basically any game that they can go to, no matter how far. Like
They have their
they've
own
been
bus too. Remember?
Yeah,
they
yeah,
gave us the
yeah.
bus.
So I mean, it's like that's like the guy that you want to talk to like when you're there, when it comes to like the fans. And when we were talking about like such a welcoming city, it was like, yeah, like such a like fun spirited person. Like he welcomed us into the gold lot, and then he's like, oh yeah, like like come over, like come check it out, like what they were up to over in the distance. And then like we go in, and then like it's like in the little corner of this like gravel lot, and it's just like a fold out table, Like, the ones that you get at, like, I don't know, like those gray ones that you can get basically, like Target or whatever. And then on top of those tables, like, you see, like, the nicest, like, bourbon bottles that, like, you can ever imagine, like, with, like, little horse designs, like, on top of the bottles. Yeah, like, and it's, like, the most, like, probably, like, top shelf that you could possibly imagine. And then on, like, these, like, little Target, like, fold-out tables, I was like, oh.
With plastic shot glasses.
With plastic shot glasses. And they were all just, like, playing music, like, just drinking, 2 p.m. again, the finest bourbon in Kentucky.
In Kentucky. Yeah, we had we interviewed the road dog on the bus for like an hour.
Yeah.
And his wife called him in the middle, and she was like, "Where the hell are you?" Because it was so windy that day, so we interviewed him inside. But once we let him return, eventually, I forget when the guy who worked for Lucity came out, but somebody from the club came out, because it's like traditionally they do, like, club staff member does a toast with the supporters, just to say thank you, and, like, that these people don't have to be here, but they're choosing to be here, which I thought at least was a very cool gesture.
Yeah, I mean, he had like a whole, like, poem that he read out to people that was, like, Open Cup themed, which was fantastic. And then, like, I guess I gifted them the bottle that he had brought over. So it was, like, nice to see, I guess, like, that whole interaction between the fans and, like, the ownership. Because, I mean, like, obviously sometimes in some teams, like, there isn't really that, like, open dialogue.
Yeah, they had a very close connection, the fans and the
yeah, I mean, it was, like, as soon as he showed up, it was like, oh, hey, like, very nice to see you. It was like, oh, yeah, like, no, like, these people have known each other for, like, years. Yeah. And it's, like, there's, like, that synergy of, like, oh, like, we're all, like, pushing in the same direction.
And I mean, sporting wise, it works. Whatever. I mean, Louisville's been incredibly successful. In their time in the USL. So whatever they're doing, it works.
It works. So it was nice to see that. And then, I guess the person from the club, went back to the offices to get everything ready, I guess, for game day and all that. But then, we did, like, the march into the stadium and all that, right?
The cool thing about also their stadium is they let us drive the bus inside the stadium. So before, like, as maybe a couple hours into the tailgate, we drove the bus over into, Lynn Family Stadium.
Yeah.
And, I got to have it in there. So then during the game, and as you guys marched into the stadium with the fans, they got to end up at the bus in the stadium, which was, it was cool.
Yeah. It was nice, like, seeing, like, because, I'm trying to think of, like, when we had always, like, parked the bus up until that point. Like, it had always been on, like, the outskirts of the stadium, and, like, being, like, a little bit, like, removed, like, from where all the action was. But, like, when it came to this, it was, like, the club was, like, so welcoming. And they were like, like, we want to find the best spot for the bus so that, the fans can enjoy it and all of that. And it was, like, they opened up this, like, side gate and then put us, like, basically behind, like, the scoreboard at the stadium, and it's like they have this little, like, concourse area where, like, people gather ahead of the game at halftime.
Yeah, they had a little field out front all the kids were playing on. It was good.
Yeah, so they were just like, like, you guys can just, like, park right here. And I mean, it was awesome. It was like, like, you could step out of the bus, like, walk just, I don't know, like, a few yards or whatever, and then it's like, I'm, like, right, I can watch the game.
A good shout on how great of a stadium it was. When you go to the urinals, they had soccer nets in the...
That was fantastic.
In the urinals, you could play a little shoot around, a little kick around. And that was a nice little touch. And I think also it was great because towards the end of the game, a lot of the fans came back out, and we got gifted on the bus the star glasses that had a very short appearance. But one of the fans, who's completely purpled face, this older guy, takes them off, and then he, like, puts them onto my face, and they still have, like, purple all on there. And I was like, like, trying to, be down with the moment a little bit, but at the same time, like, what is happening? He gave me these little star glasses that he wore because they have 2 stars on the badge, and that was a nice little send off.
He just walked away. Like,
it was like
he said like 3, like, his outro, and then just, like, left.
Yeah, he gave me one of those mic drop moments, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He got me good. Dang it. But I think that was one of the trips where we got a lot of good stuff from fans and from the club to to build out the bus a little bit more to make it more like, because as we went on, people started giving us more stuff to put in the bus, like pertaining to their club. So there's pieces that fans could see of their own club, of the history of their club, that they could then talk about and engage with a little more. And then it became more of a thing of people teaching us about their club as well as us trying to talk to them about the broader scope of American soccer. So it started to be become this nice balance of stuff that we've collected along the way that we have personal stories with, and then also people bringing in their own stories to the bus.
Yeah. It was cool that for then the fans and then the club itself, they're like, oh yeah, we have this poster from the friendly that we had against I think it was Frankfurt.
Yeah.
They had the little bat.
That was awesome, yeah.
That kind of ties into the old baseball stadium that they used to play in, and it was just just kind of giving us stuff to display, and that's when I think things kind of started to turn in our heads a little bit of maybe the inside of the bus, what can it be at each different stop.
Yeah, because the bus started becoming more customizable because we started getting more stuff than we knew what to do with.
And this was, unfortunately, after Naples, we wiped off the beautiful
That's true, yeah.
Painting on the windows. It was the first game stop that we had jerseys up, I think.
Yeah, so we put the jerseys and the scarves on the outside, so we were able to get some Lou City scarves up there.
Well, yeah, I think it finally felt like a really good evolution of, this feels like a soccer bus now.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Where before it was still it's a bus.
It's a bus.
Yeah, the jerseys were definitely the missing piece of this is soccer. You can see it from a mile away and be okay, this is soccer. Because even with the frames only on there, it was still just you have to get pretty close to see what it is, and then it's just but shirts were undeniable. Shirts, foosball table,
Undeniable.
But then you guys got to see the Lipa FC trophy.
Yeah, Lipa
too.
FC trophy. It was. The game was cool. I know Lou City put that away, right?
They beat Loudon, right?
quick.
Yeah, it was pretty.
So it was I think the stuff that happened after the game was
And I
really,
guess I'll
really
say
cool.
Too, I forget it. Were we were in the when the coach toasted the fans? Were we both there? Or was that just me?
May have just been you.
What's his name? Danny something? I forget.
Oh wait, no, that was after the game, right?
Yeah.
We were all there.
What's his name? I forget.
Yeah, I think it was Danny.
Danny something. But the head coach of
super successful.
Yeah, of and another side plot of this is apparently the coaching lineage or linear progression of coaches that Lou City has, they all come from each other essentially. So it's a very cohesive philosophy narrative story, which is they already know. When the new coach is introduced, the fans are already familiar with him, which is cool. But after, what I think they do every game, after the game, the coach came out to a whole bunch of fans and just toasted them with a beer and was like, "Thanks for coming," and sat and talked to a whole bunch of them for a while after that. And that's when we got Sean to come to the bus too, right?
Yeah. That was he was Iron Man multiple seasons.
Is he the all-time leading USL peer? Yeah, right.
I think so. But yeah, he told us, he's oh yeah, it actually saw the bus, because we'd been doing some posts with Lou City, so some of the players had seen some of that, and he saw it and he was oh yeah, I actually want to go check it out or whatever, and then it was the coach did the toast, and then we walked out with him, with Sean to show him the
Sean Toach
to show him the bus, and I think meanwhile both of you guys were talking to somebody, right?
Yeah, we had a new intern.
Yeah,
Brecken.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
And he was he's I already have autograph from him. I don't need it's no big deal. He stays after in all the games, and it was cool. His mom was waiting outside the stadium. She's just take however long you need. We're you sure you don't gotta go, man? He's no, my mom's right there. She's waiting for me. I was okay, yeah, you probably gotta go, man. It's not. But it was funny, I think as we started going along on our trip, we started picking up all these characters of just people that stuck around the bus a little bit and wanted to, hang out a little bit longer, and it's cool.
It was cool. Then showing Sean the bus and all of that, getting talked to him. Yeah,
it was half an hour of talking to him, and he's been there forever, obviously. So being able to be oh wait, what is Louisville? What's going on here? And I feel when we had. If he must have been when we had breakfast, and there was a mural.
He was there.
Oh, yeah, there was. Yeah. I forget what the breakfast spot was called. But a breakfast spot in Louisville. There was a mural of Lou City players from, I don't know how current it was, but there he was. Like I cannot compute in my like 8-year-old brain where I was being told soccer sucked. It was like, how this exists in Louisville?
No, he had a really nice story, like in terms of like how like the community has embraced him, and like obviously like all the other players as well, and like that dynamic. And yeah, I mean, then after that, like I know after he left, like because in there was like in the back of my mind, I had this mission of like I'd heard about the LIPA FC trophy, and for those who don't know, like it's the this trophy that the supporter groups between Louisville and Indianapolis like trade off of each other based on like because they have this like big rivalry between both of them. So LIPA FC stands for Louisville Indianapolis Proximity something.
This is your area of expertise.
Yeah.
I could not tell you.
The proximity something FC or yeah. But anyways, like they trade this trophy in between whoever like wins it for a particular season, because it's like they play multiple games in a season, so whoever had the most wins that year gets to keep it for the year. But to describe this trophy, it's literally just like one of those big like parking cones or parking cylinder
Big orange
thingies.
traffic cone.
Orange traffic thing, and then
Traffic barricade.
and then it has the like a road sign on top of it, a highway sign on top of it, and then they add like carabiners like of the color of the team that wins like a match. So it's like, and then they just like trade it in between like one another. So for that particular year or the year before, Louisville had gotten to keep it. So I know that they had it, but the guy that actually invented this trophy and was holding on to it, he wasn't able to make the match because he had work that day. But the road dog had actually asked him, like, could you bring it after the game so you can show it to the Club 11 guys? And then he actually did.
This is the only audience that's going to care about this thing.
And then, like, it was like he parked in the gold lot. And he's telling me, he's like, the road dog's like calling me. He's like, oh, like he's here, but he's gonna have to leave soon. Like, are you guys done? And I was like, oh, okay, like yes, I'm gonna sprint over there. So Kira's and I ran, and then we got to see the LIPA FC trophy, and it was beautiful. It was like everything I could have dreamed and more. And then we got some pictures of it. Like, it was fantastic. And then getting to talk to them about like, why they started this trophy, and they were like, oh yeah, like at least from the guy that came up with this trophy. He was just saying like, oh, I just thought it was like silly that like they said that there was a rivalry between both of us, because like honestly, like there isn't that much of like a animosity between us. It's just like we're just like close to each other. So I just thought it was funny, and like that's why it's like centered around the proximity of us, and that's why I made it like one of those little like
because
traffic
that
thingies.
road to people in between those areas is like infamously terrible, like in the upkeep of that highway, which we soon found out as we made our way to Indianapolis. But before we go to that, I think we have to also shout out the what was it? The St. Louis City Boys, that podcast. Remember they came? Yeah. And they came, he didn't even have a ticket to the game, and he drove from St. Louis to Louisville and asked the person at the gate, because he didn't know that we were going to be inside the stadium. He's like, can you just let me in? I just want to go see the bus. And he came in and got to see the bus and everything, and then just like, got a magazine and then left and went back home. We're like, what? Like, I think that was a cool moment of like, holy crap, people are willing to, travel. People we don't really know, and we got to know, and they end up being like amazing people.
I remember how there was somebody like while we were at the gold lot before the game, that there was just some guy that like came in like his work clothes, like khakis and like the collared shirt and all that. And he's just like, oh yeah, like actually like I'm supposed to be at work, like lunch break right now, like I'm just like just coming here to see the bus, to check out what you guys are doing. I was like, wait, what? And then he stayed for like half an hour. We chatted, and then he's like, oh, yeah, I got to go back to work. Yeah. And that was that. So it was great. Great.
Yeah, at that point, it was starting. As bad as that oil leak was, it was like we were starting to see like people get the bus before showing up. It wasn't like we were coming places like anonymously at this, like where there was no context. There started to be this story around the bus. A lot of the clubs were helping us like promote the bus with them. So as you would come on, or like as you would get to the game, there was like, oh, there's the Club 11 bus. Like, we got to go check it out before we go into the game. And I think that started making things a lot easier when it came to like the discussions we would have in the bus, or just like generating foot traffic towards the bus, is like there became this growing story about how we're going to all these different rounds of the Open Cup. And in the first round, you can say you're going to all the rounds of the Open Cup and it means nothing.
Yeah.
But once you get a few rounds under your belt, and you're like, okay, they're actually
Now
trying to
you're
do
doing
this.
it.
Yeah.
I think Louisville was the perfect, like, after what happened in Nashville. I think when we talked about it when we were there, it's like we couldn't have asked for a better stop, because I think it was one of our first, if not our first, like 2-day thing. And then just like Ben and Connor, just like them kind of, and the whole like front office and the media team, like they were so helpful in like setting everything up. And Ben and Connor came out like the day to the academy, and then the day of the game, like Ben had the whole shoot with
the
they were doing a jersey shoot with what is it called, Churchill Downs, right? So it was the Churchill Downs. There was like 5 people dressed up with like their hats and stuff, and they're sitting like in front of the bus, and like the Lipa FC trophy, and like all of these things kind of just made us forget, like, oh yeah, we still have to get this thing that doesn't work home, you know. But yeah, it was definitely like one. It feels like it almost like turned the page into like we started to get a little more organized, and the fact that the clubs were. It's not that they weren't receptive before, but like with them, I think we were able to do so much with such little time and like preparation. Because there was a point where we could have missed that academy game if we didn't, decide to make it after Nashville. So yeah, it's a really, really good stop, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think it was like we couldn't believe. We're like, oh my God, wait, this is a whole like USL Championship club that's like helping us. Like, this is awesome.
I think, yeah, that maybe was one of the big differences as you jump up the leagues. You start to see the more and more infrastructure between like everything, and things are a little bit more set up where it's like there is this amazing feeling of going to the USL2 teams, the NPSL teams, and getting to feel that like super frantic, like go.
The rawness.
Yeah, where as we start working our way up, now we're at USL Championship, it's like there is some more like order to things, and it's like, okay, there's more like planning that we can do involved in things, because like there's just more people available, like they have more resources to work with. So you get to see, we're seeing like firsthand how all these front offices deal with monstrosity of a bus rolling through their city. Which is cool.
I think now that you put it that way, it's like because there were more. I know we were at different like USL Championship teams, so like this one in particular, like to the point of how grassroots it feels to be at a team that's not at that level. But then the ones that we saw later on, like in MLS and everything, this one did feel like a perfect like in between, where we were given certain freedoms to do, what we wanted to do, but also you were kind of met with this, like, there were also like rules that you kind of had to follow. There's like, you can be here, you can't, and they made total sense. But like the way we navigated through it, and like together with the team, I think it made such a nice 2 days there.
Again, I think like, yeah, for me at least too, like for a while, and I mean, Louisville was my favorite because like everything felt so under the same ethos. Like everybody with the club like had the same idea, and they applied the idea to whatever world they were working within. But it was, family, community first, and we're gonna try and do the best by the people who are here cheering for us as we can. Even I think we felt like that like when we worked with them the first time, like on the magazine.
Yeah.
I mean, like all the help they gave us with Wilson Harris, and like they helped us set up the shoot with Wilson at Churchill Downs, which was crazy. And sneaky. There's I don't know if it's still there, but there were soccer goals on the infield at Churchill Downs, and we got to do a crossbar challenge with Wilson Harris on the inside of Churchill Downs, which was insane. But even then, when we first, again, going way back to what we talked about earlier, but just pitching people ideas and having them trust us, I think when we pitched them on why we wanted to work with Wilson, and then even when he eventually left, it never felt like anything to do with them was like, oh well, Wilson's gone. Like it was always very like, we're so proud of Wilson and this story, and we're so happy you guys are back here, and it feels very linear, and it makes sense to be back in the same world again together.
That was also a cool full circle moment of doing the story with Wilson, and then fans get to open up the magazine and they get to see him inside.
Because there were little kids who were like, oh my God, like Wilson Harris, Wilson Harris. We love
Because
Wilson.
they're all like celebrities to those people, so it's like a cool reaction to get from all those kids that that know all the players and adore them and get all their autographs and pictures. It's cool.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, then what?
But as with all amazing stops, they all have to come to an end, and we have to go to the next one, don't we?
We do. Damn. I'm trying to remember the drive of from Louisville to Indy.
I was suffering. I remember I laid down in the bus when we got to Indy, and I just had to take a mental.
It was some Champions League.
We were
game
watching
happening.
Arsenal, Real Madrid, maybe
Something like that. Because I remember we were there super early.
Yeah,
and it was everybody take a nap time.
Oh, that sucked. I think we came in with such bad vibes because Louisville went so well, and then we knew we were going to have to drive literally the next day back from Indiana. We're literally driving the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And it was we were all in this very negative mindset, which I mean, we have a right to. The bus was dying
because it was such a nice stop at Louisville, but then it's
next day you got to just go. Yeah.
go. And then it's it could be over.
Yeah,
you don't know what's wrong with
there's
the bus.
this still looming thing of the bus is over. So what you got to drive. At least for me, the idea of we have to drive up and then go all the way back. And Louisville was great, so it's we just go back. Going back to back is tough.
Very tough.
But then we get into the game and I don't know how exactly, because I don't think we knew where we were going to park at. And then they're like, "You guys are coming in the stadium."
Well, the thing was they told us beforehand was because their field is UPUI or whatever
IUPUI
college, whatever Indiana offshoot college in Indianapolis is, and so they were thing is because it's a Wednesday, we're technically not allowed to use certain things until school's out, and it's wait, what? What do you mean? And so they couldn't really guarantee us a place to be, and so a worst case scenario was we could have gotten there, and if we weren't inside, it would have been.
It would have been.
That's what I think. Yeah, the vibe was so bad because we might just be stuck in this school parking
in a
lot.
school, where there are teachers parked and administrative staff parked.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about university parking lot, it was the parking lot was filled with just cars from students, and there wasn't. I mean, there was
one
a
guy.
little bit of a tailgate going on, but it wasn't
a tailgate of one.
When we arrived. Yeah,
because there was school, the tailgate was in other cars that were just there. It wasn't they had their own corner off somewhere else.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the student parking.
Yeah. So it was there was that that very real possibility of oh yeah, the bus will just be at that parking lot and there's no fans there. So it's just the parking lot is there, and then we go inside and maybe just watch the game or God knows. But it was there was a little bit of uncertainty as we got there, but it was nice to meet with the Brickyard Battalion people right ahead of the game. I think it was cool to kind of hear their story.
We did catch the very end of their tailgate, and I think we talked to the current president or someone who's in charge of on the board now, and even hearing the backstory of the Brickyard Battalion existed before Indy 11 existed. The group came together of soccer fans in general, and they were you know what we need our own team, and they were we're going to petition to have a team come here. And I forget how long after a team came, but Indy 11 eventually came. And so I don't know of another, at least in the U.S., a story where the fans were begging for a team and organized and had even different colors and all that kind of stuff before the team was announced. But hearing that sort of, again, in a gigantic, you've got a gigantic sports following otherwise, whether it be motorsports or the Colts or the Pacers, and it was you guys wanted a soccer team?
Yeah, that's what I think. It was a pleasant surprise because we came in with such low energy and then quickly start talking to people, and the bus gets inside the stadium, and then we're oh my gosh, this is actually on. I was literally passed out on the floor of the bus. I was so tired from driving that day. I don't know why, but then we started talking to fans, and just you light back up. And you're this is we're back. It's back on.
We're back.
And you start talking to fans and just sharing the stories, and they're playing into the Lip FC rivalry, grabbing the Louisville stuff off of the bus and putting up their stuff. They're you guys don't have an Indy jersey, and we're yeah, no, we just got here. And then they go to the fan store down maybe 20 feet from us and go buy us a jersey and then go pin it up on the bus. And there you go. Now you got a fan. And then that jersey made it the rest of the trip up on the bus. And so it was just now people continuing to be more excited about the bus and like giving us that like motivate. I feel like it's always like this reciprocal thing of like we bring the bus there and then people give us so much like energy back to be like, all right, we got to keep going. And at that point it was like, I remember being like, wow, I can't believe like I came in with such like a negative attitude towards it. Not even towards the team, but I just was like feeling so like rough that day. And I was like, this team just like totally flipped the day around. And it was like ended up being like a really great night because it was like perfect weather out. Yeah. And it was like actually ended up being a really good game. And I think did they win the last second?
Last second. Yeah, last play of the game. Yeah.
The bus was right there. Gabe and I were watching it from the like right at the bus, and then we saw you guys run over to the corner with them.
It was crazy that it was like the bus was inside, and you could like sit on these steps and just like look up, look out to, and it's like the game is going on. Like,
we were watching
like
the bus, just from these chairs, or the bus from these chairs. We were watching the game from the chairs, and it was just this awesome experience. And I think that's the cool thing is when you guys and Kyrus go run off to go do the game, we're in the bus, but like if we ever go like peek our heads out, we just see you guys like running around. You're like, around. Here they go.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And yeah, I mean like their fans like obviously like had met a few like at the mini tailgate that they had outside, but then on the inside like being in the supporter section like when things started, and like Claire, the one that plays
then they all came at halftime, remember?
Exactly.
We put the bug in the ear of like the president because we're like, oh, like actually we, when we did interviewed him outside before the game, it was like, oh, actually, yeah, like we're here with this bus and the bus got in, but we're gonna be on the far side there where the supporters were. The BYB was the opposite side, and we're like, if you guys like could please come, like that would be great. He was like, yeah, like I'll see what I can do, like maybe halftime, and then eventually halftime comes and there's like 40 of them on the bus. It's like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's one of I think the best pictures of the bus is like the whole entire Brickyard Battalion like in the bus like crammed
use it all the
there.
time. I think that's
like
awesome. Probably one of the best.
Or they play Claire was playing the saxophone out front. Was awesome. Yeah, they were. I mean, as most of these people are that we meet, like very, you could tell the people in charge of the supporters group very intentional with what they were trying to do and what a kind of a space they were trying to make and how like fun it was. Even Claire was like, "Yeah, we don't practice these chants, we just do them." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! Hell yeah!"
Seeing Bill Hamid too was awesome.
On
a personal level.
Another
even though
DC crossover.
DC crossover. Unfortunately, for Miami and for Bill, they lost.
I was gonna say, were you cheering on Bill Hamid or were you heckling Bill Hamid?
Oof. No, I was trying to stay professional.
As you normally do.
But yeah, that was a good experience. I think also like with it was cool. Like I think speaking both to like Louisville and Indianapolis, like when it came to working with both teams, like it was like. With the teams that we'd reach out to for like USL2 or like NPSL, like it was like we would reach out and there would always be like a very like open line of like dialogue, and we could kind of like talk and kind of figure things out. And then in my head I was like, oh, maybe like as we hop into like USL championship, like maybe like that won't be the case. But with both clubs it was like very easy to kind of like communicate and kind of like, again, almost like tell them like, yeah, we're trying to do this kind of crazy thing. Like, I don't know if you're down to try it out. And they were like, yeah, no, like that's awesome. Let's try it. So I think I'm like very thankful for like both of those clubs that they were very responsive and very welcoming. And then I think also with like the cool thing about Indianapolis was like their front office, a lot of them come from like motorsports. Which again, like the whole city's like kind of plugged into all of that, but for them it was like they'd worked at like the Indy 500 or all that stuff, and a lot of them like maybe necessarily don't have like a soccer background specifically, but they still come at it with like such a like passion of like, I want to help grow this. And even though like maybe I don't necessarily like have a background in soccer, like I'm proud that other people in the community do have that background, and I want to like lean into that and kind of learn from them as well, and then maybe bring like their own expertise when it comes to like how to run like a sport in general, like a sporting franchise, something like that. So it was cool like getting to talk to them and like hearing their insights in terms of like, yeah, like when we were little, like we really enjoyed like whether it was going to like football games or going to like like races and stuff like that. There were always like family promotions, like there were things that would help get like kids excited and like families through the gates. So it was like, oh, like we want to help like bring that into whatever we're doing with Indy 11, which I think is like a little cool crossover that like it's like like you can bring things from like other disciplines into like soccer and kind of like see how they work. I think in general, like when it comes to like soccer in the US, like there's always been like that thing of like people like to do like these like family nights and like kind of crazy themed nights and all that type of stuff. And I think it's like part of American soccer culture at this point. And I think it's like cool that, teams are kind of like embracing that and pushing that forward. So
Totally. Especially like maybe it's stereotypical, but the niceness of the Midwestern teams and the familial atmosphere definitely came through for us. But as with all good families,
comes to an end.
Holy
Sorry, I was like zoned out and I was like, wait, okay, we're about to.
You face as families and units, you face bumps in the road.
Nice, that's way better.
That's where I was going with it. And we had to return and face our scary drunk uncle in the face and figure out what the hell we were going to do with this bus. And so Justin embarked on, how long was the drive?
I don't even know, but it was, I woke up at, I think I left.
It was 18 hours total.
Yeah, 18 hours total. So yeah, we left at like 7 a.m. and just drove. I don't think it was 18 hours all the way back to Orlando. Yeah.
I think we did 9 and 9. Or a little more the first day. And then
Yeah. Oh, like we drive and then it's like we got to get lunch and stuff. But I remember I left at like 7 a.m. and we got to Kennesaw at night. And we just drove just straight and just go. No enjoying anything. No, we just stop at a rest stop.
You left, I think that was one of the first times you left before, because I think I had to drop you.
Because you guys, for context, like how the games work is we drive the bus in there, we shoot all of this stuff, and then the next day stuff goes out. So when the game ends, which is like an important detail we're skipping over, like the game ends, we all go to the hotel, and I go to sleep, everyone else works, and then we wake up and we go drive to the next place. So then we can post at 11 the next day. So they were all up working on this while I go to sleep because I was like, I got to wake up in the morning and drive the bus home. And so you guys are all working. And then, so I get up early, leave, take the bus, and then you meet me down the road because the bus is only going 55 miles an hour and you can go the speed limit. So that you'll catch up eventually. And so, I was out on my own for a few hours just driving.
I was worried because it was like, I think that was one of the first times that we'd done it where like it was just you and then, the car wasn't like, and especially after everything that happened in Nashville.
The bus was
like dying. Yeah. But, and we were like in the middle of like, driving through Indiana. Like I remember the reason that drive is so clear, especially like catching up to you, because I was really trying to I'm like, I need to get to this guy before he leaves, like, Indiana. And there was this, the song, like, I think it's Small Town by John Mellencamp. Like, I remember driving by, like, a massive sign that said John Mellencamp Highway or something. And then I get off on, like, the exit and I look up, like, on my phone, like, is this, like, why the song? Is this where the small town is? And it's like, yes, it's here. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's the I'm trying to get at it. It's a stereotypical small town in the middle of like nowhere, and I'm just trying to like catch up to this guy. And then, to be fair, it didn't really take that long. That's what I feel bad. It's like, wow, like you were driving since 7.
That's the problem is like I would take off at like 7, and you're like, all right, I'm leaving at like 9:30, and it's like, all right, give me
met at like 11.
Like I've barely gone anywhere. But then he has to wait behind me the rest of the time, so it's just like, whatever. But that's the whole thing is like we're never going anywhere fast, so we got to just start, and we'll always be late everywhere, and it's just how we roll.
That's how it rolls. And I think it's with the bus rolling very slowly back to Orlando to be checked up on that we end this one, and we leave a very dastardly cliffhanger of what happens next. Where should we
go next?
Wrong video.
Oh, sorry.
Remember, we definitely will not be in Florida again, though.
Yeah, remember that whole idea of we won't be in Florida again? Well, we just drove the bus back to Florida.
And we definitely will not be in Florida the next however many
Yeah,
stops.
And it definitely won't take long to fix the bus. Cut.
Florida episode.
If you made it this far, thank you for listening. If you want to hear more from us, check us out across platforms at Club11 and join us on Patreon where you can get exclusive perks and be the first to know about what we're up to. Until then, we'll see you next time.